Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget, you can catch us on Metropole TV, 8 to 9 p.m. every evening. But let me first of all start by how much I'm looking forward to hosting Professor Howard French at MindSpeak. Howard French is an author, a journalist, a professor. He's really multi-talented and has made his speciality China, Africa in particular, amongst other matters. 6 shot dead as Sudan sees breakthrough in civil rule talks. 5 Sudanese protesters and an army major were shot dead Monday in the capital, hours after protest leaders and the ruling generals reached a breakthrough agreement on transitional authorities to run the country. The military council said that in a late-night press conference that it had noticed some armed infiltrators among the protesters. Kapuscinski said if the crowd disperses, goes home, does not come back, then we say the revolution is over. And that's the point the Transitional Military Council is trying to get to. Zimbabwe faces its worst power cuts in 3 years. Mines are hit as well. Mining accounted for more than 2/3 of Zimbabwe's $4.8 billion in total export earnings last year. And any power cuts in the sector will affect production and exports. Zimbabwe is producing 969 megawatts daily against peak demand of 2,100 megawatts and is entering its peak winter power demand season. Tanzania's coffee output may drop 23% next season on the drought and a lower crop cycle. South African all shares up 6.9% year to date. Dollar-rand, the rand's hanging on to those small gains it made after the election. Egyptian pound 17.052, EGX 30 up 6.67% year to date. Nigeria all share down 9.11% year to date. Very good article by Thomas Collins in the African Business Magazine, Indian Ocean Oil and Gas, Africa's Next Energy Frontier. Africa's Indian Ocean sits directly opposite the energy-hungry Asian markets of India, Southeast Asia and China. 2 substantial discoveries over the last decade, gas in northern Mozambique and oil in Uganda, have directed the industry's spotlight towards the East African and Indian Ocean regions, with many believing these finds are just the tip of the iceberg. Eni, with Anadarko, made a series of discoveries in Mozambique's Rovuma Basin in 2010 in what was billed as the biggest natural gas find in recent decades. With proven reserves of 100 trillion cubic feet and resource estimates of 150, the Rovuma field holds enough gas to supply Germany, Britain, France and Italy for 15 years. Albertine Rift Basin reserves are estimated at 6 billion barrels, with production expected to begin in 2022, plateauing at 230,000 barrels per day. Verisk Maplecroft's 2019 Resource Nationalism Index puts Tanzania at the extreme risk category, according to seismic surveys conducted by Spectrum Geo and Soma Oil and Gas. That's Somalia could hold as much as 100 billion barrels worth of offshore potential. Most of the large oil and gas finds thus far have hugged East Africa's coastline, meaning that maritime borders extending 200 miles, according to the UN Law of the Sea, are extremely important in ownership disputes. According to initial data from London-based exploration firm Discover Exploration, the Comoros, with a population of just 850,000, could be sitting on as much as 7 billion barrels of oil and 1.1 trillion CF of associated gas. I told Thomas the East African seaboard is the last great energy prize going. August 2013, I said I have no doubt that the Indian Ocean is set to regain its glory days. I'm also certain that the eastern seaboard of Africa from Mozambique through Somalia is the last great energy prize in the 21st century. Therefore, the control of the Indian Ocean becomes kind of decisive, and with swift control, China can be shut down. A sine qua non of President Obama's pivot to Asia is US NATO power projection over the Indian Ocean. 2012, I wrote an article, Maputo Boomtown, and then subsequently we went from boom to bust, and now we're back in some shape or form. In Tanzania, I said investors are having to price in a Magufuli haircut. We will not be distracted from executing on our strategy and carrying out our mission by those who seek to create doubts to profit at our expense and that of our long-term stakeholders. So said Jumia's co-chief executive officer, Sacha Poino-Nek. Jumia snapped an 8-session losing streak to close over 10% higher yesterday. First quarter operating loss widened to 45.5 million euros from a loss of 34.3 million euros a year earlier. Microsoft will spend $100 million on African Development Center, working with local partners and governments. Initial sites will be Nairobi and Lagos. Plans to hire 100 full-time developers at the two sites by the end of this year and expand it to 500 by the end of 2023. This is all about cloud technology. MTN raising $555 million in Nigeria this year for expansion. Nairobi All Share is up 7.01% year to date, but had a poor session yesterday. Vodacom turns to Safaricom for higher operating profit. Sales growth in Johannesburg-based companies' businesses elsewhere on the continent increased 15%, more than 7 times faster than that of South Africa. Safaricom acquisition has proven to be a catalyst for extending our mobile money leadership position on the continent and in ensuring that financial services have become a significant contributor to the group's revenue. I wrote an article about M-Pesa, calling it the jewel in Safaricom's crown. I said the M-Pesa platform economy is a part of the genre of platform economies like Uber and the like. Safaricom predicted that within 3 years, its pioneering digital payments business, M-Pesa, will generate more revenue than all other parts of the business combined. Safaricom trades on a trading P of 17.215. Kenya Re rallied 14.16% to close at 12.50, and this was on the back of a 3-for-1 bonus issue announcement. And with that, I'll take my leave. Thank you for stopping by.